Hello, welcome back to the Freedom of Mind series. Today we are focusing our discussion on continuation of evidence gathering basics. And I hope that this information and these techniques will help you in some way to achieve and maintain freedom of mind.
The rules of evidence for the applicable jurisdiction can be checked at a local law library or online. For those in the USA, some information about the U.S. Federal Rules of Evidence is at en.wikipedia.org/wiki/federal_rules_of_evidence. Additional rules of evidence may apply. For example, each U.S. state has a website for its court system's rules of evidence. Search with the following keywords: that of the state, the word courts, and the term rules of evidence. Much evidence gathered is in digital format in the case of extra-targeted individuals, ETIs. ETI is a term I use since concluding that the public at large is targeted to some extent with the tools to which extra-targeted individuals have become sensitized. For an introduction to some of the considerations, including admissibility, authentication, best evidence rule, hearsay, and privilege, see en.wikipedia.org/wiki/digital_evidence. According to en.wikipedia.org/wiki/digital_evidence, digital evidence is often attacked for its authenticity due to the ease with which it can be modified, although courts are beginning to reject this argument without proof of tampering. As noted in the previous installment, files should include information regarding their creation. This quote is from Ensure Admissibility of Digital Images by Richard Kamen and Herbert Blitzer. What to do if your time-date stamp was inaccurate through no fault of your own? Correct the stamp in advance of future creation, but do not try to change it for files already created. Also, document how far behind or ahead it was and for how long. To store both hard or printed and soft or electronic formats of a file such as a document, a digital camera with a macro setting for close-ups helps when a document scanner is not accessible. On digital cameras, the macro mode setting usually has either the word macro or a symbol of a flower on it. If the environment in which you are photographing is dark, you can decrease the camera's shutter speed to allow more time for more light to be taken in by the camera, or if time is of the essence, then you can increase the ISO, which will affect the sensitivity to light so that less light is needed. When selecting a portable digital camera with video recording capability, consider both the audio and the visual quality. And I feel I should mention an example of a camera I tested. It was a pretty good camera for visual quality, and it advertised video recording capability, but really there was no audio capturing capability in the video feature. I suppose because it was designed for underwater use, the designers felt that there was no real need to capture sound. So these things must be checked, and also check if the operating sounds and sights are acceptable. What I mean by that are the camera will emit certain flashes of light or even longer periods of light sometimes while the camera is being focused on a subject, and it will also make transitional sounds when you're pressing different buttons and starting the camera up and so forth. So you have to check if those are within acceptable range for the purpose with which you are going to be using the camera, where perhaps it might be important to have a camera that is on the quiet side. Check the transition times. For example, how quickly can the camera go from being turned off completely to capturing an image? In the long run, rechargeable batteries tend to be more cost efficient. If your evidence-gathering devices do not include a battery charger, check for optional ones. They could be by the same or compatible manufacturer. Always have a charged backup battery handy. A good and free program for capturing what is on your computer screen is Hypercan. Its official site for download is www.hyperionics.com. One thing I like about this program is that it lets you scroll down to show the whole page and so forth, so it can capture everything that's there to be captured on the screen. In the previous installment, we reviewed showing patterns of perpetrator activity in your specific case. It could also be helpful to show similarities to other cases. For example, several extra-targeted individuals have reported suspicious vehicles the size of minivans or SUVs with blackened windows. I am one of the ETIs who has uploaded such footage. While YouTube has become a relatively safe place to post evidence of being targeted, please keep in mind the guidelines at youtube.com/t/community_guidelines. A way in which YouTube is safer than many other options is that it does allow quick sharing with other members of the community and the public evidence of being targeted. In particular, YouTube's community guidelines offer an additional reason to those reviewed in the previous installment to avoid, quote, revealing other people's personal information, end the quote. Even if they may be an organized stalking and electronic harassment perpetrator, do not let them provoke you into violating the rules that are set up in place to protect the community as a whole. Do not let the perpetrators provoke you into breaking any other important rules either, including those you've set up for yourself for your own personal code of conduct and your own safety and your own legal protection. To help keep up with trends and competitive pricing within evidence-gathering technology, I periodically check thespystore.com. According to its homepage, the Spy Store Incorporated offers the world's largest and most varied selection of spy gear and spy equipment. Included in categories within thespystore.com are personal computer surveillance and counter-surveillance. According to en.wikipedia.org/wiki/counter-surveillance, counter-surveillance refers to measures undertaken to prevent surveillance. Although it is not currently specified there, such measures could potentially include surveilling the surveillors. Although en.wikipedia.org/wiki/counter-surveillance does not currently address how to gather evidence of deliberate bombardment with electromagnetic radiation, such as radio waves, within the electronic countermeasures section is stated, most bugs emit some form of electromagnetic radiation, usually radio waves. The standard countermeasure for bugs is therefore to sweep for them with a receiver, looking for the radio emissions. It seems such a device may be able to pick up on the frequencies with which targets may be deliberately bombarded. Some evidence that might not be accepted by a court of law may still be informative. For example, lie detector results. Voice stress analysis lie detector software is now widely available. It is important to keep in mind how they work. Something a person says may be accompanied by increased stress without necessarily being a lie. People today, extra-targeted individuals in particular, may be attacked by cybercrime. Some helpful information to protect against cybercrime is at us.norton.com/cybercrime/index.jsp and also at us.norton.com/security_response/browsewebsafely.jsp.
Hello, well, we've reached the end on this installment on gathering evidence, and I hope you find it very helpful. And above all, one of the rules that I foremost keep in mind is, especially in this day and age of digital technology, is that if you have the opportunity to get what may be evidence, and you can do so without endangering yourself and without reducing your quality of life too much to take these opportunities as they present themselves, then by all means gather the evidence first and foremost, and then when you have the opportunity to review it, the next reasonable opportunity to review it, you can decide if it was just extraneous, in which case it can be deleted, or if it's something worth holding on to for at least further investigation. Sometimes if something is puzzling, it turns out that it actually helps to fit a piece of the puzzle, and even if it really comes together a lot later with a lot more eyes to help figure out how that puzzle goes together. So I like to be on the side of gathering more evidence than what you're sure that you need, as long as it's not definitely wasted footage up front, then try to add that to the footage that you have available and see if one day it doesn't fit into the puzzle to help solve what else is going on. And so I wish you all the best, and if you have good suggestions for gathering evidence, I ask that you also post them in the comments section for this video so that more people could also get some helpful suggestions from each other with regard to all of this.